Sometimes it's just about using your brain and being logic. If your leg looks like a science experiment after an injection, you feel like shit, the injection site is swollen, it's red, it's full of pus, please don't post it online. Go see a freaking doctor ASAP. What's up folks, it's Uranus from Brussels. Welcome to another video. So for the past 9 years I've been injecting things into my body. TRT, HCG, growth hormone, peptides, but some of the stuff you're about to see I have never experienced and I've never even seen. So when do you know an injection has gone wrong? That's what we're talking about today in this video. By the way, I'm not a doctor, this is for your information only and it's just my opinion. Alright, let's get to it. So how do you know a shot has gone wrong? Well, first of all, pain. Well, regardless if it's intramuscular or subcutaneous, a little bit of pain during the injection is totally normal and a little bit of blood can happen too. After all, you are sticking yourself with a sharp object into your body. After the injection, you can still have a slight pain for a couple of days too, especially if you're injecting anything that is oil-based like TRT, and especially if you're injecting into that muscle region for the first time. We call it virgin muscle pain, and it can happen. I always used to pin in my right quad, never had any pain, and at some point I switched to my left leg, and the very first injections I had pain. Now, experience a little bit of pain after the injection, we call it post-injection pain, is totally normal. A little bit of discomfort is normal. You can also experience a slight bruise after the injection. It's been 9 years and it still happens to me from time to time. But if your injection site is red, swollen and you're in agony, something has gone wrong. At the beginning of my treatment, I was on Testosterone and I had to learn the hard way that I'm allergic to peanut oil, and my very first injections I couldn't walk properly after my injections because of the pain. The injection site was very sore and I wasn't looking forward at all to the next shot. Trust me, if you're in so much discomfort that you cannot move the limb into which you injected, something is wrong with that injection and you should definitely see your doctor. Secondly, if in the coming days after your injections you feel like shit, you have a bit of a fever, the injection site is swollen, painful and hot, perhaps full of pus, something is not alright and you need to see a doctor ASAP. This, for example, is not normal after an injection. Let's look at another example from one of my favorite YouTubers, Derek from moreplates.moredates.com. So Derek used to inject into his quadriceps, and one time he was incredibly unlucky and he had an infection or an abscess. Let's read about his experience. So my quad injection mishap. I've never had an infection, okay. However, I did have one shot in my quad go already several years ago. For no good reason at all, my quad started inflating with blood to the point where I needed to get it drained. So if this shit happens to you, please go see a doctor, guys. There was no abscess, there was no infection. You don't want to take the risk. Go see a doctor. Clearly, I pierced through something that resulted in hemorrhaging and the buildup of a hematoma in my quad. My leg swelled up with blood to the point where I couldn't even bend it. My body would have eventually absorbed all that blood and been fine as there was no infection, but the pain was just too intense to deal with and it would have taken months to drain naturally. So I had a slit cut in my upper and outer quad and drained the entire thing, okay? There was so much blood and pressure built up that a projectile bloodstream smashed into the wall across the room after the slit was made in my quad. Well, that must have been really a nice experience. Immediately after, I had instant relief and then my leg healed up and was fine. This was using the exact same sterile testosterone I used for my TRT and there wasn't even an infection. The technique was perfect. There was no good reason for it. My leg just started hemorrhaging from the needle. Now, if someday one of my quads looks like Derek's quad, I would immediately go to the ER or go see a doctor. Now, Derek blames the injection site for his misfortune, saying that you should never inject into your quads because there's a lot of blood vessels there and a lot of nerves. Now personally, I've been injecting into my quads for almost a decade and I've never had an issue because I'm using shallow injections with insulin needle. Here I would say the blame is on bad gear. I have never used testosterone that didn't come out of a pharmacy with a prescription. You wouldn't believe the shit that people sometimes inject into themselves just to make gains. Sometimes it's just about using your brain and being logic. If your leg looks like a science experiment after an injection, you feel like shit, the injection site is swollen, it's red, it's full of pus, please don't post it online. Go see a freaking doctor ASAP. If you have the balls to buy steroids off some shady website online, you should also have the balls to deal with the potential consequences of injecting bad steroids into your freaking ass or leg. Another factor to take into consideration is if you feel any numbness, any twitching or tingling after an injection at the injection site. You might have hit a nerve during the injection. Now in my 9 years of injecting HRT, this has never happened into me because, as I said previously, I only do shallow injections with very fine needles and I avoid that problem. I don't see why I would inject myself with a harpoon twice per week for a medication I will be on for the rest of my freaking life. Stick to pharma grade compounds, use shallow injections, don't be allergic to the carrier oil, and always be very hygienic with the procedures and the stuff that you're doing during your injections. I have thousands of injections under my counter, mostly pharma grade stuff. The only times I injected something that was not pharma grade were peptides. Other than that, everything was with a prescription, came from a pharmacy, and I never had any issue in almost a decade. If you think your shot has gone wrong and you're posting pictures like this on Reddit, it probably means your shot has gone wrong and you should see a freaking doctor. Alright, ending it here. Leave me a comment to support my channel, subscribe, I'll catch you on the next one. Uranus out.